Now, please come to yes, no, not given. Yes, no, not given and true, false, not given. They have only one difference. In true, false, not given, we have to check factual information. Whereas in yes, no, not given, we check writer's claims or writer's views. Please come to questions. Questions 32 to 36. Do the following statements agree with the claims of the writer? Underline that. Claims of the writer. So in yes, no, not given, claims of the writer. And very common mistake in yes, no, not given is students write true, false for yes, no. If you write true for yes, false for no, your answer is absolutely 100% wrong. Is this clear? So please make sure for true you write true, for false you write false, and if it is yes, no, make sure you write yes and no. Yes, you can write capital Y for yes, capital N for no, capital NG for not given, but they will not compromise that for yes, no, you use true, false. Okay, be careful with that. Is it type A or B? Type A. Questions and answers are in order. Question number 32. Acknowledging people such as Plato or Da Vinci. Now, clue words we have here, Plato and Da Vinci. But first read the question. Let's read the question. Acknowledging people such as Plato or Da Vinci as geniuses will help us understand. Will help us. Which tense is it? Future. Will help us understand the process by which great minds create new ideas. So if we acknowledge people such as Plato and Da Vinci as geniuses, we acknowledge them. Acknowledge means we accept that Plato was a great genius, right? Will help us understand the process by which great minds create new ideas. Let's go back, look for Plato and Da Vinci. Okay, do we have in third paragraph? Second page, third paragraph. Very good. Now please come here, everyone. I'm reading it from the beginning because this is a short paragraph so we can read it easily. Third last paragraph. Third last paragraph on second page. The notions of insight, creativity and genius are often invoked, but they remain vague and of doubtful scientific utility, especially when one considers the diverse and enduring contributions of individuals such as Plato, Leonardo da Vinci, Shakespeare, Beethoven, Galileo, Newton, Kepler, Curie, Pasteur, it's Berry Curie, okay, Curie, Pasteur and Edison. These notions, focus this thing, these notions merely label rather than explain the evolution of human innovation. We need another approach, and there is a promising candidate. So, acknowledging people such as Plato or Da Vinci as geniuses will help us understand the process. Now, what does he say? We need another approach, and there is a promising candidate. So, no, just a second. All right. Okay, so focus this thing. These notions means the people we term as great people. These notions merely label rather than explain. Now, you cannot define the genius of Shakespeare, right? You cannot explain the genius of Leonardo da Vinci, Plato and all that. They say these notions merely label. Now we label Shakespeare as a genius. We label Plato as a genius. So these notions merely label rather than explain the evolution of human. They do not explain. We need another approach, and there is a promising candidate. So acknowledging people such as Plato or Da Vinci as geniuses will help us understand the process by which, no, listen now carefully. He used the word that is only the label. It does not explain. Now the word explain comes towards the process. So acknowledging people such as Plato or Da Vinci as geniuses will help us understand the process. The process has not been given. They have only given us the label. Try to understand. How did Shakespeare become a genius? We don't know the process. We only label Shakespeare as a genius person. So underneath the process by which great minds create new ideas, process has not been mentioned. Only they have been labeled. That's why the answer is no. False nahi hota. No. Okay, let's go on. Question number 33. Law of effect was discovered at a time. Now just underline at a time. Law of effect was discovered at a time when psychologists were seeking a scientific reason why creativity occurs. Now at a time means at the same time. Now listen carefully. Law of effect was discovered at the same time when psychologists were seeking a scientific reason why creativity occurs. So please let's go back. Law of effect. Very next paragraph. The law of effect. Now let's see if it occurred at the same time. That's what you got to check. So everyone, third last paragraph. The law of effect was advanced by psychologist Edward Thorndike in 1898, some 40 years after Charles Darwin published his groundbreaking work on biological evolution, on the origin of species. Okay. This simple law holds that organisms tend to repeat successful behavior and to refrain from performing unsuccessful ones. Now let's come back to the question, please. Law of effect was discovered at a time when psychologists were seeking. Have they mentioned anything? No. So the answer is not given. They didn't mention anything about the scientists were doing something and then they discovered it and all that. Okay, question number 34. Law of effect states that, now underline this thing, no planning is involved in the behavior of organisms. No planning is involved. Most important thing. Law of effect states that no planning is involved. Let's come back. Same paragraph, we read on. All right. I'm reading the last two lines. Just like Darwin. Found it? It's the third last paragraph, second last line. Just like Darwin, law of nature, natural selection. Just a second. Law of effect states no planning is involved. Okay. Yeah, it's the third line. This simple law holds that organisms tend to repeat successful behaviors and to refrain from performing unsuccessful ones. Just like Darwin's law of nature selection, the law of effect involves an entirely mechanical process of variation and selection without any end objective in sight. So law of nature, law of effect involves an entirely mechanical process. What does it involve? Entirely mechanical process. Come back to the question. Yeah, no planning is involved. How come? What do they say here? Entirely mechanical process. When there is the mechanical process, it involves planning. Okay, please focus this thing. Without any end objective in sight. Without any end objective in sight. When you don't have any end objective in sight, it means no planning is involved. Okay, just try to do one thing. No planning is involved, right? And come back here. The last line, without any end objective in sight. So when you are doing something without planning, without any end objective in sight, what does that mean? No planning is involved. So that is why the answer to question is yes. Okay guys, question number 35. Law of effect sets out clear explanations. Now underline sets out clear explanations about the source of new ideas and behavior. Please come back. It's the second last paragraph. Of course, the origin of human innovation demands much further study. In particular, the provenance of the raw material on which the law of effect operates is not as clearly known as that of genetic mutation. Is not as clearly known as that of genetic mutation. Come back. The law of effect sets out clear explanations. What is the word for clear explanations? Focus this. Is not as clearly known. Now in the passage they say, is not as clearly known. In the question they say, set out clear explanation. In the passage they say, not clear. So what is the answer? No. Very good. Question number 36. Many scientists are now turning away from the notion of intelligent design and genius. Now let's read on. Many scientists are now turning away from the notion of intelligent design and genius. So let's read the last 3 lines. The generation of novel ideas and behaviors may not be entirely random, but constrained by prior success and failures of the current individuals such as Bohr or the predecessors such as Nicholson. The time seemed right for abandoning the naive notions of intelligent design and genius and for scientifically exploring the true. Now this is the last line where you find the last answer. Question number 40. Let's read it again. 36, sorry. They say, the time seems right for abandoning the naive notions of intelligent design and genius and for scientifically exploring the true origins of creative behavior. Now, what is the question? Many scientists are now turning away. Turning away means abandoning from the notion of intelligent design and genius. Now, listen. They have mentioned turning away from the notion of intelligent design and genius, but they did not mention anything about many scientists. They did not tell any, or they did not give any information about many scientists. That is why the answer will be not given. Because scientists, they didn't mention anything about them. They simply said the time seems right for abandoning the naive notions. But are the researchers abandoning these notions? They didn't tell us anything. So this is going to be not given.